kick it.
Hey, Slimesters, and welcome to the Girls' Room. I am joined yet again by my lovely co-host, Kat.
Hello.
And then we are also joined by two of our lovely friends. We have both Megan and Heather here with us, not new to the podcast. Thanks for joining us on Girls' Room.
Yes. Thank you.
Glad to be here.
I am so excited because today we are going to talk about all the book series that we loved in the 90s. And I think all of us were fairly avid readers. So I'm excited to get into this. But yeah, me too. I now, because of my ADHD, I have a really hard time focusing on physical books. So I do a lot of audiobooks now, and I love it. Highly recommend.
Me too. I'm almost always listening to either a podcast or an audiobook while I'm at work, just because I don't want to listen to everybody having conversations outside of my cube. So
it's white noise, and it's also just enough to focus on that you get the general thing of what's going on, and I love it. Thoughts that I had earlier. I'm gonna get there. It's been a very long week. Is it just me? Or do you feel like the 90s were really I think maybe they started in the 80s, but like the 90s is really when they were like, let's reward kids for learning.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
Because I was trying to think, we had Book It, we had Accelerated Reader.
Yes.
I spent the summers, my grandmother would watch me in the summers, and we did the summer programs at the library every year.
Yes.
As a burnout former and gifted talented child, I love achievements. I love anything I can do. And I fully remember I would just print out the accelerated reader list. And first I would read the books I wanted to read, but then I went full completionist and I was like, I'm going to read all these books and I'm going to get all the points for it.
I feel that. Yep.
Yes. That was me.
Yes.
Go for it.
I was gonna say, I can't remember if it was like a summer thing or if it was like a year thing, but I remember there being something like you had to read 100 books, and I can't remember if it was 100 books in the summer or something like that.
Yeah.
And I would just smash it. I'd be like, let's go.
We didn't have, I don't think it was 100 books that were assigned, but you had to read like as many books as you could, and your guardian had to sign off on it. And then whatever kids read, like the top 5 readers or whatever, would get like medals
pizza party
or something.
When in doubt, the 90s were, how do we reward people? Pizza party. Like Book It with it was Pizza Hut, wasn't it?
Yeah. Pizza Hut.
And you'd go and get your little personal pan pizzas. Oh man,
it still exists because I literally before we started,
I saw it.
My niece is actually 7 and she has to read every single night. And they have like a little calendar that they color in, like if I read something today kind of thing, but you get a personal pan pizza, like your child.
One of my friends' kids is doing it because she posted, she was like, look, it's Book It. I was like, yes.
The pin with the little star stickers on it.
Yeah, the library here in Henderson actually does a summer reading program, and you can sign adults, kids, and you just log in like however many minutes you read or how many chapters, and you get so many. And if you end up getting however many login minutes and points, they reward you, and they give out like huge prizes this last summer.
That's
like
awesome.
TVs. Yeah, like little Henderson here giving out TVs.
Dang.
Like nice kids, fun little thing like camping equipment or fun thing, just
reading is so important. Reading's important, whether it's for pleasure or for learning.
Yes.
Well, again, as a former gifted / now burnt out millennial, One of my really good friends in elementary school was like, I don't know if she just skimmed the books or just was a speed reader, but she like collected books. Like she had every single book in like all of these series and she'd be able to tell you everything that happened. But I always felt like competitive with her, like, oh, she can do it, I can do it too. And like I think that also fueled my
yeah, it was also a competitive streak. I was like, I need to check all of these boxes. Like I need athletic, to read
so
all of these books.
Thing was my Olympics, right?
I was both, and I should not have been allowed to be. Let's be real. But yeah, no, I absolutely loved reading as a kid. I got that from my mom. My mom was an avid bookworm, constantly reading.
Yeah.
It would be her reading to me each night. And then the older I got, we would take turns reading. And then once I hit, middle high school, I would read books and then give them to her. And like, it's so funny because even now, if I go home right now, in her nightstand, she has like these really old, like oak nightstands that have like an open door on them. Ooh. And there's always either a stack or like a box of stacked books all in one side of her nightstand. And like I remember that as a kid and I'm like, Mom reads so many books, I need to read so many books. I have 2 7-foot tall bookcases upstairs that are full and like stacked weird because I don't have enough space. I think my mom still has at least a bookcase or so of my books as a kid. Like when Kat recommended us doing a books episode, I was like, I can't believe I didn't think about that. I am so here for it.
It took a minute for me to think of it too. I was like, oh no, I think we covered everything, but no, books. I was like, my identity as a kid was books.
Right?
Yeah. Going to the library, and because you could check as many out as you wanted, like I remember carrying like, tiny me, like 7-year-old me, just like carrying these stacks of books that were like almost just, I was looking over them and it was just like, all right, summer reading, plop. And they're all just boom.
First day of summer, my grandmother would take me and we'd have 2 bags and she's like, okay, go find books. And I'm like, here we go.
Yeah.
We
the bookmobiles and that would come around to the schools.
The Scholastic Book Fair.
Yeah, they still have the book fairs here too. Yeah,
they have them multiple times a year now.
I know.
My niece had like so she's 7. She's in 1st grade. She had her the like, here's what's out for sale, and then it was like you can also pick these books and get them at the book fair. They have like 2 a year now. It's not like
that's so freaking cool.
Yeah, they give them a wish list. Like Sam will get like a paper and he writes down all the books that he sees that he wants that are on a wish list, and he comes.
I remember circling like
those like pamphlets, and you went through and were circling all of them.
Yes.
And we were like big readers. Like we every year for Christmas we always got like matching pajamas. We all got like a calendar with whatever our like, favorite character was, and we each got at least 2 books. That was like, so we like, I'm 5 years older than my sisters, so at the time I'm like, okay, as soon as they can understand it, now I'm reading to them, like, because I can read now. So like it was, we had a giant, like you said, like we had a whole corner in our room that was just books, and I remember just books everywhere, like
honestly, I think I've had a bookcase since I was born, at least one. Like my mom started it strong, but like I was also rewarded with books. So like on Sundays, we would go to Sam's Club because that was also sample day. And so if I behaved myself during grocery shopping, my reward was getting to go down the book aisle and get a book. Like that was my life. I had an aunt growing up who she worked at Barnes & Noble for a really long time. And so every time she would come in town for Christmas, she would give me a book and like inscribe in the front of it. And I loved that so much and I cherished those so much. I've started that with my friends' kids. Like I do not have children of my own. That's probably not what I'm going to do. And my sister hasn't had kids yet because she shouldn't. Don't do it. You're too young.
She's younger. Yeah.
Live your life. 11-year age difference. Big gap. So like my friends' kids are like my nieces and nephews. So every year at Christmas, I will give them each a book and like write something in the front cover of it. And thank God they all love reading as much as all of us do. So they're excited. And I'm like, man, if you have a kid who doesn't like to read, this is going to fall real flat real fast. Like,
I was actually trying to find before we started. I had like a few of my books still from like when I was a kid, like so what. Every time my niece is over, she asks for like a bedtime story. But my mom would always write in the front of the books, you know, who gave us, like where the books came from, like mommy and daddy, whatever, and like the year. So I was like, oh, I could literally pick out all the books and when we got them, but I could only find Snow White. And I know I have a Sleeping Beauty one because it's literally falling apart and my niece keeps telling me I need to fix it. I'm like, I can't. It's very old. Like me, it's old.
I've got a couple books through, you know, to Catherine from Santa. I got those. Not here with me, but yeah, Christmas was big for books for us too. And I just remember getting, the only time I got disciplined for reading was when I would try to walk to and from the bus stop while reading, like blindly. Like there was no sidewalk, there was a blind turn, and rightfully so. My mom was freaked out, but I was like, I'd seen Beauty and the Beast, so I was like Belle, just like do 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 do. I can walk and read at the same time, and just like no
goals, right? Like a rich man takes you hostage and gives you a library. Like, come on,
sign me up.
Well, it's more like I'm just walking down the street and, you know, people will see me. They'll duck under me, around me.
They'll move out of the way in artistic ways while I read my book.
We'll all sing a choreographed song. It'll be great.
About how crazy and weird I am. This is great.
Yes, exactly.
I remember, like, even if we got grounded for something, because we were, my youngest sister and I, our birthdays are 5 days apart. So we just fought all the time. But it wasn't like, I hate you fighting. It was just the normal stuff.
It's sibling bickering.
Oh yeah. So anytime we were grounded, no TV, no going to your friend's house, whatever. But books were never taken away from us.
My mom, whenever I got in trouble, I would have to go to my room.
Yes.
And the problem with that was that's where the books were. That's where the books were. So even if like
punishment.
Even if like honestly, I don't even think she ever told me I couldn't listen to music. Mom, you're probably listening to this. You'll have to clear this up later. But it was always I had to go to my room, and I'm like, all my stuff's in my room. Great. This is where I belong.
Yeah, exactly.
But like on top of that, I would be reading and my mom would be like, okay, it's lights out. It's time to go to bed. And I'm like, okay. So I'd turn the light out and then I'd reach in my nightstand and pull out my book light or my flashlight and just be reading. And she'd come back and she's like, it's lights out. And I was like, my lights are out. Like, I don't know how many times, especially in high school, I was really bad about it in high school. I would read until like 3 a.m. And not realize I did it. Yeah. And then the next day I was like, Mom, I can't go to school. Like
I honestly think I did that with like, maybe it was like one of like the Mockingjay, something like that. I remember reading it and I kept like, oh, a little bit more. And I ended up finishing the book. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I have to wake up for work in an hour and a half. And I was like, oh, just forget it. I'm not sleeping. Right? What's the point?
Yeah. Pump yourself full of coffee and go.
Just live your best life.
Right. I also, if this gives you any indication of how much I read, I would read more than one book a week in high school because I carried a book around with me constantly, because that was when in the early 2000s, they started mandating, at least in Indiana, they mandated that, was it like 3 times a week, I think, that you had to go to your homeroom and have designated reading time. And I think it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it was like 30 minutes. You had to read for 30 minutes. You couldn't do homework. You couldn't study. Like you had to read either a book, a magazine, or a newspaper. So I'd constantly had a book on me. I would read through class. I'll totally admit that I would read through class. But there was a Borders that was like a couple blocks from my mom's house.
Borders.
R.I.P. Borders.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
And there was this one man who was an employee. He was my favorite. I can't remember his name for the life of me right now. I want to say it was John. Maybe it was John. He knew me because I was in Borders multiple times a week because I would just fly through books. And so every time I would come in, if there were like new fun books, he would have pulled some aside that he would think I would like. So every time I came in, he's like, hey, come check these out back here, and would like put the books out that he thought I would like, because he, he has access to my purchase history. So like that's how much I used to read. There was an employee of Borders who knew me and kept books aside that I might like.
Oh,
absolutely insane.
What book series did you guys read?
Oh,
like what did you do? Do you have them with you, or just?
I wish I had my physical copies.
Okay.
I do too. Yeah. Which, like I said, I lived at the library as a kid too, so that's where I used to love the Henderson Library because the kids department was kind of like in a basement, like the one at Willard in Evansville. It's in the basement, which is really cool. But no, I think I know Alex and I had a few copies of our books as kids. Like we always had The Monster at the End of This Book was a classic. And we actually still had Alex's copy of that. His mom saved, because Alex's mom saves everything. So she kept everything of Alex's as a child. So but I don't know, it was like falling apart and everything. So we ended up getting a new copy for Jensen. But yeah, that copy was still around here. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I had any of my favorite books as a kid. I don't think I still had them.
Did any of you read the Babysitter's Club books?
Yes, that's on my list.
I have that.
I wrote down a list of books.
I picked my top 3 because I knew if I did a list, it would be pages and pages long.
Yeah. I was like, I wrote down multiple, so that way, like, if somebody else, I was like, in case somebody else talks about one, then I can be like, all right, well, good. Then I can add another one, or maybe we can bring up. So
let's go around. We'll just go around and we'll share. Kat, you want to start with Babysitter's Club?
Sure.
Yes.
Babysitter's Club.
Babysitter's Club.
Did you go straight Babysitter's Club, or did you go like Babysitter's Club Mystery?
Okay, so I started reading them in second grade, so I was between like Babysitter's Club and the mysteries, and also the Babysitter's Little Sister. So the whole Karen, Hannah, Nancy crew, and then the Christy, Claudia, Dawn, Stacy, etc. crew. But I was obsessed, and like I had 2 other friends who were obsessed. One of them was the speed reader. And we would just like, we bonded over it. We were members of the Babysitter's Club fan club where I had like a poster on my wall.
Yes.
I remember seeing the movie. I had like one of the dolls that they had. I had a Christy doll. And I went to the King of Prussia Mall, is like a really large mall in Pennsylvania. And Anna Martin did a book signing there when I was little. And my mom has a picture of me meeting her, but she signed Hello Mallory. And I have my Anna Martin signature.
That's so awesome.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah, this is I found it. I was like, oh, this is signed. Oh my goodness. So that's why I have this physical copy with me. I'm like, any signed book, regardless of if I phased in and out of that fandom or whatever age group, I'm keeping it because it's just sentimental.
I have a section of my bookcase that is signed books. There's not many, but I have some, and I keep them all in the same spot.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So any amazing. Babysitter's Club fans, who was your favorite babysitter?
Yeah. I always really liked Claudia.
I liked Claudia.
Too. She was the fun, eccentric one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't remember any of their names until you started listing them off. And I was like, oh yeah.
Christy, Claudia, Stacy, Dawn, Mallory, Jessie, and then later it was like Abby and Shannon, I think. I aged out of it at that point, but yeah.
Yes, Babysitter's Club was awesome. I hated that. I almost hate seeing the new covers of them. That's out now. I'm like, I know. The old ones were so much better.
But in what world is she 11 years old? She looks like she's like 19.
Yeah,
they all look like a CW series where adults are playing teenagers. Let's be real. Honestly, I don't know how they haven't done a dark version of the Babysitter's Club on CW.
Oh my gosh.
Golden idea. Go for it.
Wait, Netflix. TM. We should just
you should talk to us. We'll help you plan it out. Just give us a little credit at the end. I will piggyback off that with another big series that was my favorite that my mom got me into, were the Boxcar Kid series.
Read them too.
I loved those books. For anyone not familiar, those are about a group of siblings who live in a boxcar. due to family issues, and they just survived on their own, going on adventures, living out of a boxcar. And honestly, go my mom for introducing those to me, because that is not a series like you can't find another series like that. Like it was one of a kind, and there are so many books and they go on so many adventures. And those were our nighttime books for a really long time, was just reading the Boxcar series.
Party of 5 in a boxcar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
It's wild because I remember when we were in middle school, you could work as like a library aide.
Yeah.
So I remember
That was
working in
my
the
job.
library, and I would see, it's like I wasn't popular. I was bullied a lot. So I was very
Me too,
bullied.
girl. Me too.
So I would want to read what everybody else was reading, because I was like, oh, maybe then they'll talk to me about it. Like I can, but I tended to phase more towards like the mystery and like the Goosebumps kind of thing.
Yes.
So Goosebumps were my jam. Still live for Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Goosebumps, and then like when you got a little bit older, like we were saying earlier, Fear Street.
Yeah, Fear Street.
I've been re-listening to like some of the Fear Street books, and the cover art in Audible for some of these books, they're horrible.
Oh no.
The one was like the New Boy or something like that, and it's this picture of this girl in front of a locker, and she's like this. But it's just this weird face. It looks like someone like had just slow motion hit her in the face, and it's like squished. And I'm like, why?
Oh no.
Why is that an okay cover?
It's probably like, AI art.
I like that R.L. Stine did that as a kind of like, okay, we have Goosebumps for kids, but then we need something maybe a little bit for the teenagers. And that's where he introduced the Fear Street. And kind of a tie-in with Sweet Valley High, too. They kind of...
Yeah.
I thought Fear Street came first.
I'm
not sure what came first.
I don't remember which one
I don't
came
know.
first.
But he did it for the other demographic, right?
Yeah.
One series, and then he wanted to cater to the other, which
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I used to love getting those because I was like, oh gosh, the girl's gonna fall in love with the mystery guy, and he's probably a vampire or something like that. Because I was like, I love those kind of things.
Oh, Sweet Valley High. Oh,
that was
taking me back.
I just
it was before the Magic. Was it the Magic Treehouse books when it was like it was some kind of a pun for the title? Oh man, this is gonna kill me.
Oh, I remember. Are the Bailey School Kids?
No. Maybe.
But that's another one that I liked. That I just remembered.
Yeah.
It's that like vampires don't wear polka dots.
Yeah.
And, like, the teacher's a vampire, and like there's another teacher who's a gremlin, and like an alien, and
I think I wrote Bailey School down too. Yeah.
Forgot about those until just this minute. That's awesome.
Yeah, the Bailey School Kids, man, unlocking memories.
Yeah, it was like X-Files in book form for kids. But my mom was the parent volunteer at the elementary school library. So,
nice.
And that was around the time when, Anna Martin and R.L. Stine were churning out books. And my mom, if she saw one that she didn't think I'd read yet, she would hold it for me, like on the down low, and save it.
Mom coming in clutch.
Oh yeah. Well, if she didn't have to buy it, it was free. It was like, all right, here we go.
I gotta go back to Goosebumps a little bit on your pitch there, Heather, because it's really cool because I obviously you guys, everybody viewers know that we have children, so and Sam is now very much into Goosebumps too, and he actually has the original book covers of the ones we had when we were growing up, and that's what Alex and I have been hunting for those, and he wants more of them. He don't have all of them, but I just remember I remember going through the library at school and looking for which book can I find next, or which one, it's like which one was available. Oh, I haven't read this one. So But I love that the generation of it has continued to grow even now with that series, and that just goes to show you the popularity of it and how good they were. So
I wish I would have known that you were looking for the original covers, because we 100% just sold like our whole collection of Goosebump books. I think it was like last year.
Yeah.
So we had all of them still. My mom's like, hey, what do you want to do with all these Goosebump books? And I'm like, I didn't even know we still had them.
Oh,
so we actually
wow.
sold them on eBay, I think.
Yeah, because they had a set of, I think, 5 at Barnes and Nobles that had, like, Welcome to Dead House, The Ghost Next Door, the Haunted Mask, the Night of the Living Dummy. They had those in a set, so we got those for Sam. And I think they released another set, but then that's about it. But some of my favorites, like Piano Lessons, Can't Be Murdered, Careful What You Wish For, those those were my favorites. Those we've not been able to find. So I'd love to get those for him one day, because he absolutely loves them. So, and I love that he does, because it was my favorite. I grew up watching Goosebumps more than Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like Alex watched Are You Afraid of the Dark?
I was like Alex. I watched Are You Afraid of the Dark because I was like, no, Goosebumps is too scary. But I just chose the more emotionally scarring ones. It explains
the original cover art. The original cover art for the Goosebumps books was amazing too.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, the Haunted Mask one was
friggin' awesome. Classic. The art on those.
Yeah.
They did re-release the books, I think, a couple of years ago with like the original cover art in like lunch boxes, I think. Like they came in lunch boxes, you open them up, and they had like a pack of 3 or 5, if those are the ones you're talking about. But I remember the re-release was a huge thing. Yeah.
And they've expanded now with they call them Slappy World or Slappy series.
Yes,
title now.
I was just reading about that.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like the newer, I guess, look now. But yeah, so
give yourself Goosebumps ones where you choose your own adventure, and you'd always like put your thumb on the page just in case you died on.
So you know where to go back to. Yeah.
I live for choose your own adventures. Those were like
I never actually did it. I was like, oh, I died. Guess I got to make a new choice. Like, I never started over.
You could read them over and over again. It was the thing, is you can make different choices. So it was like one book, but a bunch of stories inside. And it was, if they kept on giving.
And Kat, you were right. Fear Street came out first, because it was like the first Fear Street book was The New Girl in 1989.
Oh my god.
89.
Yeah. Woo! That's as old as my youngest sister. And then Goosebumps, the first Goosebumps was 1992. I was 6. Right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's math. That's how math works. I was 6.
It was 3. It was 3. Yeah. Megan, did you have a series or a book?
Oh yeah. Well, let's see. The first one I'm gonna pull up here. I was like, let me go through here and look. I'm gonna go with just a single book that I used to love as a kid. And that was the book called Corduroy, with the little teddy bear that loses his button in the store.
I used to have a corduroy.
Yeah.
I
not a Teddy Ruxpin.
Not Teddy Ruxpin.
Not a Teddy Ruxpin.
Morgan. Megan, I hate it just as much as you do. I hate it so much.
I really knew how badly I wanted to kill Kevin Roach.
I'm so glad that I'm here. I'm so glad I'm 8 hours away. I love you.
The fact that Kevin walks into the studio with roses and that bear in his arms, but no, not that bear.
Not Teddy Ruxpin, but Corduroy. The beautiful, adorable little bear who loses the button on his overalls with the little yellow buttons.
Yes.
I love him. Gosh. I feel like he was like the US's attempt at Paddington.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
The US were like, the British love that little bear. They did Winnie the Pooh first. And Paddington. We need a little bear. They're like, Corduroy. He lost a button.
Yep. It was like, no. Yeah, it was just one of my favorites as a kid. I remember, like, to this day, anytime if I'm going through a bookstore, and as soon as I see it, I'm like, Corduroy. I'm like, Sam, you don't understand this book. It has such a sweet. It's so sweet.
important.
He's like, it's a bear with a missing button, Mom. And I'm like,
yeah, he has to go on an adventure to find it.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, you don't understand, Sam, okay? I'm just saying, you don't understand. Just read it. But yeah, no. But anyway, I absolutely loved that book as a kid. I think I read it so many times, but yeah, I had to highlight that one because it was
that one's
like
so good.
The one. Good. I was like, that's one of my favorite just solo books as a kid. So I had to give that one some love. So.
All right, Kat, we are back to you. What you got for us?
Wayside School.
Yeah.
There is no 19th floor. There is no Miss Zarves.
I forgot about those.
This one's like falling apart, but yeah, it's just a weird and wacky book. It's like the school was built instead of like horizontal first floor, everything. It was built so every classroom had its own floor, and it's absurd. And I loved the absurd even at a young age. So like there's a chapter in here where you read it all backwards. I don't even know how to describe half the things that happen in here. But yeah, it's an absurd school, and it was. I think didn't they make a TV show like in the 2000s? I think they attempted like a cartoon.
Probably. I wouldn't put it past them.
But yeah, I wrote some stuff down, some notes. But yeah, there's John, who can only read upside down until his brain got flipped, at which point everything became upside down. Let's see. There's 3 Erics. Eric, and Eric. Sammy is an incredibly rude student who is revealed to be a dead rat bundled in raincoats by the end of a chapter. Let's see. Who was the one who always got sent home early even though he didn't do anything wrong? Todd. His name was Todd. So he got in the classroom, if you get your name written under the word discipline, then you get a check mark, then it's circled, and after it's circled you get sent home on the kindergarten bus early. And there's this one kid who just like can't catch a break and always just gets caught up in something that he had no control over, and he gets sent home early. And then one day the teacher sent herself home early. So it's just, yeah.
I would send myself home early every day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's absurd. I remember even in school, like when we had story time or whatever in school, even up through like 3rd grade, the teachers would have like a half hour of like reading time where they would read to the class. And like we went through all of the Wayside School series, and I just thought it was wonderful. So yeah, that's one of my picks.
All right, mine is a twofer. If I got to choose what genre of book to read, it was always one of two. It was either fantasy or it was historical fiction. I still to this day will choose fantasy or historical fiction. They're my favorite. So the first ones are the Dear America series.
Yes, I had that on my list.
The Dear America series were my all-time favorite books as a kid. If anyone is not familiar with them, it's a series of historical novels, and each one is a diary written from a young woman. Her life would always take place in something like significant. So like the Civil War, the Gold Rush, the Great Depression, the Mayflower, Titanic, like
cool.
Big historical events. And it was like you were reading her diary, and that's how you got the story. Wow. Loved them. Those were so popular that they started a second series called the Royal Diaries, which
that's also on my list.
Those, they're so good. So those, again, like a diary, only they were royalty throughout history. So like my 3 favorites were Cleopatra, Elizabeth I, and Isabel of Spain. But like they had like
Marie Antoinette,
Anastasia, they had African princesses, they had Asian princess, like they had all these different culturally royals as children writing these diaries, and they were my all-time favorites. I still had my copies of my I have both, but my royal diaries last year I gifted them. My best friend Alex has a little girl named July.
Yeah.
And I love her. She's my niece. Alex still tells everyone that she got her red hair from me, and that's my favorite because neither her or Joe have red hair.
I still wonder where it's coming from.
Yeah, she still tells people that it's from me. But last year for Christmas, I pulled off all of mine and I signed them and I put them in a bag and I gave them to her for Christmas. And like she was, she was like, "Oh, that's great." And like Alex was like, "Are those yours?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Alex, they're just sitting on a shelf at mom's house. Like, please." I like, cause her little girl loves reading, and so does Rory, her little boy. I gave him my collection of Beatrix Potter stories that my aunt gave me one year for Christmas. But yeah, those books were my pride and joy. I read every single one I could get my hands on. It should have told me at a very young age that I was going to go to college and major in history, but I didn't figure that out until my like junior, almost senior year of high school. So should have known.
Did you read American Girl as well?
Yeah. I have that on my list. Yes.
Yeah, I had Felicity and I had Kit, but I read all of the books.
Yeah. Same.
Those were so good.
Yep. I remember checking them out at the library. Also, I would go and get the next one, or I'd get, I think Samantha was always one of my favorites to read. I think I read hers multiple times.
She was such a little pain in the butt to keep it as
I think that's all I like
PG as I could. And like I'd read it and I'm like, "Why are you being such a meanie? Like, stop it.
Stop being so mean.
You don't understand. The other American girls don't have the money you have. Be grateful for what you have, Samantha." I think the only one I couldn't get into were the Molly books. I liked when they took place because that was around, was it World War II? World War
1900s, something like that. I think is one.
I think she was World War II. So it would be the 40s, I think. Okay. But like Molly was a little too off the wall for me. Like she was a little too like plucky and adventurous. And I was like, every time she got into a troublesome situation, it's because she got herself into it. And I was like, at some point you have to learn. Like at some point, you got to stop making your own problems.
I tell myself that every day.
Right? I do too.
That, you gotta stop.
Foreshadowing at some point. Stop being your own problem. But I thought I thought all of those were interesting because they touched on a lot of really difficult topics. And we were getting exposed to that at such a young age. And I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like they don't have as much of that now, which makes me sad. But
from about a child, a young girl going through that stuff too. It wasn't just like a history book or about an adult. It was like a child from a child's perspective.
There was one about, she was the daughter of a coal miner and like, you learned about poverty. You learned about all the different, social classes. You learned about different cultures, like hard situations. Like it's, I feel like it made us more well-rounded and more it's the same kind of argument I make about a lot of the Nickelodeon cartoons is it exposed you to ways of life that were not your way of life. So it it made those situations when you were faced with that a little more familiar. And I feel like it, not to be philosophical, but I really think it helped in the long run, especially for millennials, because like we've talked about, there's a new historical event every other week. So reading about them as kids, we were like, let's go. We can right do it.
Now we're like, oh no,
we're fine. Cool. Heather, have you got another one for us?
Yeah, I actually never knew. When I was rethinking about it, I was looking at like the dates I didn't even know these were books from like the 70s, but one of my favorite, and I really didn't realize they were a series. And then I started thinking, I was like, wait, those are different books. Frank Ash, he wrote the Moon Bear books. There was like
I'm not familiar with those.
Was it Happy Birthday Moon, Moon
Oh,
Cake, Moon Dance, and then he would like dance,
yeah.
like, played a game with a shadow. I remember Moon Cake. That was like my favorite one. He wanted to eat moon cake and he thought he could eat the moon, but it was really like cheesecake or something like that. I don't remember it fully.
Yeah. Okay. I just need to see the art
like,
style.
Yeah, Happy Birthday Moon was the first one I got. He played Moon Game. He played like hide and seek with the moon when it was like cloudy. He played, there was Moon Shadow or Moon Bear's Shadow.
Moonbear
and he like
Skyfire was the one with the rainbow. Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently there was like another series like Baby Bear, and I remember it was called Popcorn, and it was like a Halloween party, and he was dressed like an Indian, and he had like a feather in his head, and something happened with like
Can't do that now.
No.
Oh, 90s.
Like the popcorn exploded or something like that, and there was popcorn everywhere. I don't really remember it as well. So it would have been like little, but Mooncake is like ingrained in my brain.
I love that.
Love those books. I was actually looking on Etsy like before this to see if I could get like a set of them. Because I have no idea what of our books are still left. I'll have to talk to my mom this weekend.
It looks like Amazon's got paperbacks of them. They apparently have hardcovers too, just in case.
They're so cute. Yeah, they did have them as, I think all of ours were paper back. We had like a mix of paperback and hardback. I only remember that story time. When I had the chicken pox, I remember we were sitting in like our book corner reading, and my sister and I were fighting about something, and I had a chicken pox like on my knee that was like the big puffy kind. And like kids don't know what chicken pox now are either, because like you get vaccinated for that. I feel like we're the last great generation.
We're the last.
It was not a great time.
It was not a good time.
But I remember, I don't remember what book it was, but I remember it was like a golden book kind of, or a Disney book, and it was like one of these hard ones.
About chicken pox, and he got covered in like the pink.
Oh no, I was sitting there reading, and I was like, I was reading that, give it back. And she went, here, and went wing, and just winged it across the room. And it just, the edge, the corner of that hardback book hit the chicken pox, and it burst, and I was like, oh. And I still have a scar to this day.
I have one by my eye and one on my forehead and one down on my cheek from chicken pox. I would think I could cup on my legs too.
Kids will never know.
They'll never know.
Nope.
Never know. Moon Bear, that was my jam. Like I need to get those back again, because I like want to read them before I go to bed now.
I love that.
It sounds really cute.
Something about it just makes you feel like, I don't know, safe, cozy, like back to a much simpler time.
Back before we had, as Tommy Pickles would say, responsibilities.
Responsibilities.
All right, Megan, what's your next one?
Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I technically didn't discover, this is my all-time favorite book series. I didn't technically discover these until the 2000s, but they came out in the 90s. But I'm sponsoring it tonight, but I'm a big Harry Potter fan. Harry Potter is my
go-to. Me too. We do not stand J.K. Rowling.
No.
Get out of here. Let us
enjoy the stories.
Our magical world in peace.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
The first two Harry Potter books were my rewards for being good at the grocery store. So I got 1 and 2 not long after they came out. I weirdly was ahead of the curve without realizing it. But yeah, the first two for me were you behaved at the grocery store rewards.
Yeah. It's like
rewards. Does everyone know what house they are?
Yeah.
I
Me too.
assume
I'm Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw. Yeah.
Ravenclaw.
I'm like a Slitherpuff because I'm on the cusp of a Hufflepuff too, and
I'm a Slitherclaw. I
so
ride that line between Slytherin and Ravenclaw.
which is weird because yeah, I'm a book lover too as well. So I yeah, I don't know, but of course Alex and Sam are Gryffindors, so yeah, there's
Yeah,
that.
they are.
There's
Yeah,
that.
they are. I remember as a
Uh,
kid when I was like, I'm a Gryffindor. And then the older I got, I'm like, no, you're not.
no.
No, you're not, babes.
Nowhere
No.
near Gryffindor. Yeah. I'm not brave at all. This is the same woman who was like, all right, I want the epidural on speed dial when I want it already prepped, ready to go, because I'm not brave enough like these other people and these other women that get there and go, I'm gonna do this all natural. And I'm like,
No.
nope.
I'm like, what is the
ready?
easiest way I can get through this?
Yeah.
And if you want to call that cunning, great.
Yep. I'm like,
what is the easiest and least like taxing way to get through this situation? Let's go that route.
Yeah. Work smarter, not harder, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
And fake it till you make it. That is how I live my life. My life is held together with duct tape and dreams. Let's go.
Yes, but yeah, Harry, big Harry Potter fan, and like I said, I didn't discover them until I was in high school. And so after the first three movies had come out and the fourth one hadn't come out yet, but Alex actually got me into them at first because he was like, hey, there's these really cool series called Harry Potter. It's really good movies. You should check it out. So I did, and then I was like, I need to read these books. So but what's special about it even more to me is because obviously my kid Sam is a big Harry Potter fan. They're in there watching it right now. And
Smart choice.
Yeah, he's of course seen all the movies, but now he definitely wanted to sit down and read through all the books, and he asked me to read with him, and because normally it's everything's dad, 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 but this was special for me because he asked me. It actually made me cry because he was like, Mom, I want to read the Harry Potter books together. Can we like sit down and just read chapters together? And for me, that's so special because I was like, I've always dreamed about that. I was like, I want to be able to share these things with my kids that I love. Like Alex is sharing the love of Nickelodeon with him. And now it's like, I'm loving that I get to share these book series with him. And this is one of them. And so we're currently on Prisoner of Azkaban. I know you love that one, Kylie, very much.
My favorite.
Uh-huh. And so we're in the middle of that one right now. But it's enjoyable to just sit down and I read a page, he reads a page. And it's, I'm enjoying it. So
just to hop on this heartwarming moment, I have that relationship with my mom with the Harry Potter books.
Like same, my mom too read them. She piggybacked off me too.
I started the way you're doing with Sam, where my mom would read them to me, or we would take turns. And then I think the fourth book I remember taking on a vacation to Florida one year, and my mom and I would read back and forth. By the fifth book, they would take me to the midnight releases. And so by the time the fifth book came out, I got it at the midnight release. I would go home and I would read it the whole night.
Yeah.
My mom knew I was not sleeping until probably 2 p.m. the next day. And I would read it. And I won't give spoilers, even though they've been out since the 90s, but I won't give spoilers just in case. But it was the fifth book. I walked out of my room sobbing.
Yep.
And I walked to my mom to hand her the book, and she goes, oh no. And I was like, this is fine. This is fine. Like, and each time as I got done with that, I would pass to my mom. And for anyone who's read the series knows 5, 6, and 7 are a roller coaster. And like every time I would look worse after finishing the book and giving it to my mom, and she's like, oh man. So like I had that relationship with my mom with Harry Potter is, we started with her reading to me and it ended with me finishing the books and giving them to her. So like they do hold a very special place in my heart too.
Yeah, because my mom, because I was like, Mom, you got to watch this with me because most of growing up in a Christian family, they look down upon witchcraft, whatever. But of course, I'm like, it's fake stuff.
It's a book,
right?
I'm like, it's fake. It's
just a story.
It's just okay for it. I remember being asked like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? And I was like, I want the Harry Potter book. I really want to read it. And I remember a family member telling me, no, that is evil, and I will not get that for you. And I think they got me a chicken soup for the teenage soul, something like that. And I was like,
oh no,
this is exactly
those
what
books
I
had a
wanted.
chokehold. Had a chokehold on a generation of adults, and they were like, let's get kids into really sad books too.
Yeah.
And so they'd write them for kids. I remember reading one, crying and being like, I'm never reading another one of these again.
Yeah.
Like so many of them. Why were there? I was like, can I have Harry Potter
situation,
now?
It was like
Harry Potter now. No.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Alex's mom actually, she will not buy anything Harry Potter related for Sam. If Sam's like, I want this Harry Potter this, or he wants this game, or nope. But my mom absolutely is like, yes, which is funny because she's a, grown up in a Christian family as well. So but my mom absolutely loved the series, and so I was like, we need to read the book. So my mom was a big book reader as well, so I would be like, okay, here's the first one. So she'd pass, and she'd have it done in like 2 days, of course, and then we go on to the next one. And like I said, when I got to Half-Blood Prince, she was very shocked with Half-Blood Prince, and got to the end of it, and she looked at me and she went, I don't like this book.
Buckle up for number 7.
I can't believe this. And I'm like, well, just hang on.
I remember before the 7th book was released, and I think honestly, I still have it in my copy upstairs. A friend and I went and wrote down all of our predictions before the 7th book came out, and we dated it and we sealed the envelopes.
Yep.
And so we got to the end of the 7th book, and I got to pull that out, and like even like seeing the movies, like afterwards, my mom and I being like, oh, I really wish they would have included this, or like, oh, they did that and that was okay, or being like, that was the worst decision you could have made.
Yeah.
I will never forgive them for not giving us the Weasley family gathering before they went to the Triwizard Tournament.
Yes.
I will never forgive them for that. That is still one of my favorite like things that happened in the series, because you met all of the Weasleys.
All the Weasleys.
And
we still never got a Charlie in the movies.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, we did for like 2 seconds, didn't we? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
Or like all of a sudden it was like, we're going to Bill's wedding, and it's like, who's Bill? And it's like, there was a whole section in the book.
Yeah.
You needed to read it and put it in the movie. Sorry.
We never got our Peeves, the Poltergeist. We never.
Yeah, we didn't get Peeves. Those were the 2 that I was like,
Dobby was
really
given the shaft until the final film. I'm like, come on. That's what Sam and I were discussing before the recording.
Dobby and Winky
I'm like, wait till we get to book 4, because you're going to see why fans hate the movie, because you're going to, when we read it,
I will die on that hill. The 4th movie was the worst they could have ever done for that book.
Yeah.
Because they also changed. I'm sure Alex is going to cut all this out. That's fine. I'm going to say it anyway. I was so mad that they changed the final task of the Triwizard Tournament.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see them talk to a Sphinx and solve a riddle. That's all I wanted. Cool. And then they gave us a maze that eats you. And I was like, no, I want to see them be smart. I want to go back to that. Okay. Sorry.
Like, no. But the magic continues because of now getting to share it with my kids. And now my youngest is starting to kind of like Harry Potter. So he's not fully like sitting down for the whole movies, but he's watching clips, and he loves the monster book chomping. So he goes around with the book going chomp, 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 chomp with the book, and it's pretty cute.
And I will speak for the subsection of nerds out there. I 100% read so much Harry Potter fan fiction. I'll be totally open and honest about it. I barely read fan fiction, but if I was reading it, it was Harry Potter fan fiction, because we all did it. It is what it is.
We're all guilty.
We're all guilty of it. I could have been reading much worse things on the internet, because we had unfiltered internet access as children. But I read Harry Potter fan fiction where I was like, no, these 2 characters should have been in love, or no, this character should have never died. Like, it is what it is.
So much.
And I think that made it take on a life of its own, because everybody was like, I can make this whatever I want it to be. And I friggin' love it.
Yep. Exactly.
All right, we will circle back around to Kat. I don't know how long we've gone. I was really bad at not
Gone
keeping
for
track
a
of
little
time
over
this
an
time.
hour.
I figure we'll do this one. If he needs to cut out the third one, he can cut out the third round, and then I'll give us an outro, and we'll
Okay.
we'll
I'll
do
just do
that.
a twofer then.
Yeah, go
So
for it.
these two ladies, Harriet
Harriet the
and
Spy and
Matilda.
Matilda. Yeah.
I wanted to be Harriet the Spy. Like
Me
I did
too.
wanted to be
too.
her.
I did too. I even have back here oh, hang on.
Oh.
So both of those books became movies around the same time, like the same year, I
Yeah.
think. And I was so glad that they did because I was like, these are my favorites. But I even went as far as to in the Eggo Waffles, they had a Harriet the Spy reading light.
Nice.
And
Love it.
so then I could read my Harriet the Spy with the reading light.
Sam
And
would love that.
Perfect.
He
and
loves
it's just like a
Harriet the
cool
Spy.
little thing. But yeah, I was obsessed. Like I always kept journals and stuff anyway. And so I would like write down, observe people not spying, but I'd people watch and then
Observe,
I'd
be
write
people.
down an inspiration for characters in my own stories. So like Harriet the Spy.
I was a
And
people
of
watcher
course,
too.
of course, Matilda, she's like Stephen King's Carrie Light,
Beautiful.
The kid version of
The
Carrie.
kid, I mean, am I wrong?
Right?
No.
No?
No.
Am I wrong?
That's true.
No.
But yeah, just the fact that like they could have gone because I mean, like the illustrations and everything, like
Yeah.
they go extreme situations and like child abuse in this book, but the way they did it in the movie felt safe and like still over the top somehow. But Danny DeVito, he directed that too. I keep forgetting that. But
Yeah.
it was wonderful and he made like the environment really safe for the kids. So just the fact that like they turned something that could have been like a troubling story when seen on screen with real life, like with child actors, the fact that they made it like heartwarming, that was really cool. But yeah, those two books turned movies were my favorites when I was in like fourth, fifth grade.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Sam's actually read Matilda now too. He likes it. He really enjoys it. We like Matilda.
I've got a single book.
Okay.
It came out in 1999, so it barely squeaked in, but it is one of the books that has honestly stuck with me since I read it as a kid, and I've read it again as an adult. And it is the book Bud Not Buddy. I loved this book. It was about a young Black boy during the Great Depression, who grew up in a foster family and just like his adventures. And if I remember correctly, I think he wanted to be a jazz musician. Or no, that's what it is. There we go. He was trying to find his dad because his mom never told him who his dad was. And all he had were a flyer advertising Herman E. Calloway and his famous band. So he thought his dad was a jazz musician. So like it's him living in the Great Depression South trying to find his dad. And
Oh wow.
it hit me so hard as a kid, and it still hits me just as hard as an adult. And again, that's something that you don't necessarily see pushed for kids nowadays.
Yeah.
It's because it's like, oh, we don't want to give them anything too like hard. And it's like, but those stories stick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah,
that
for sure.
realness.
Yeah. Because I mean, just like before, like it let you learn about other people that you may not have access to, and then it helped with ease those interactions. Like,
Yeah.
just so
Yeah.
good.
Broaden your horizons a bit.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, Heather, you are up.
So going with sentimentality, I guess it technically was a book that came out in the like later 80s, but it's like a family favorite. Love You Forever.
Oh,
It was
That's a good one.
Can't read that now.
so
Having
good.
a boy,
Right?
having
Yeah.
a son. It's like,
Can't read this anymore. We each had copies of it. And my mom even like anytime we go to like a baby shower and they're like, bring a book, baby's first book, I bring that book. every single time. It just, my mom, I think I had lost my copy. I want to say my mom gave me a new copy for like our wedding or something like that. And I was just like, it was like the first book she bought, my niece and nephew. Just, I don't know, that just gets me, especially like the end with when, mom is now being taken care of by baby. So, a little sappy, but like that.
Oh, it's so good.
I don't know if they still do it, but, and I may find out this year, but the DARE officers used to read that book at the graduation for 5th and 6th grade, but 5th grade now. So I swear if they read that book at Sam's 5th grade graduation, y'all are gonna be hearing about me going, oh, Alex is gonna be like, pull yourself together. And I'm like,
never.
Because having a boy, I'm like, being a boy mom now. That book. I'll be like, nope, can't read that anymore. Nope, too sad. Because makes me cry because he's not a baby anymore. So yeah, I'm with you there. It's such a sweet book. It is.
All right, Megan, you ready to take us home?
Oh, I've got so many that I'm like trying to remember or trying to figure out which one I want to go on, but I'm going to go on my second favorite book series and also have introduced to Sam, and it's the Narnia series. I was introduced to Narnia in the 5th grade. I was attending, because I went to 3 different elementary schools, unfortunately, but at this school I had probably the best teacher I've ever had. He was the coolest, most laid back teacher, and it was rare to have guy teachers, and for some reason all the guy teachers are always so awesome. But Mr. Bramer, he introduced us to Narnia, and he read us, we used to read in class, and he would read to us, and he read us The Magician's Nephew, and I absolutely fell in love with the series from there. So because of him, I fell in love with it myself, and I've read all the books. And then of course they made the movies, and I love the movies, thought they were well done adaptations. So, but just, it always takes me back. I'll never forget the memory of reading that, being in 5th grade, 1998, 5th grade class. And we'd sit down and read that book, and he would read the first one. And sometimes we got to the second and third one, but yeah, I absolutely love the Narnia series. Alex bought me, I think when we first got married back in 2008, they released them, how they do book series, they'll release them in one big bundle now instead of the separate individual. So they did that because I think Prince Caspian came out at the time. So it's got the Prince Caspian cover of the gorgeous Ben Barnes on the front. And yeah, so it's he bought me that because I was like, I don't have copies anymore of the Narnia books, and I'd love to have my own copy. So he bought me that one. But that's another series that Sam wants to actually start reading now too, because he loves the movies. So that's on our list when we finish Harry Potter.
I just love that Ben Barnes hopped from a child fantasy series.
Yeah.
And then as adult was like, you want me to be in a fantasy series?
Let me show you.
Sign me up to be the morally gray romantic interest. And I'm like, it feels like I'm 16 again.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh, when
so
I
good.
first saw that movie, I went, who is this?
I was like, I love this man.
Because I had a big crush on Peter because he was.
I loved Susan. She was my favorite.
Yes. Yes. I loved Susan.
I just wanted to be Susan.
Yeah.
With her bow and arrow.
And she'd shoot with the horn. She always had the horn. But yeah, I did. I absolutely. And one of the things I love about it too is that there's kind of like a Christian theme to them. We actually, at one of our kids' camps that Alex and I, when we were camp counselors years ago, one of our kids' camp, the theme we did that year was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And there's so many comparisons that you can make with when, Jesus died on the cross, his sacrifice, the way Aslan sacrificed himself to save Edmund. And just so many parallels there. And I mean, I know C.S. Lewis was, a Christian as well. So that's one of the things I love about it is the things you can pull out from books and compare them to real life things. And that's what makes books so great, is being able to adapt them or compare them with situations that you might be going through and how they can be, something that we can relate to, or we find a series, even if it may be a fantasy series, we're like, oh, I can relate to that character. She's going
I
through this, or
I just love that for me, it was an escape. It was
yeah,
escape from the everyday. I could just get
from
lost in it.
reality. Yeah.
But my favorite on the Narnia thing, my favorite random knowledge is that C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien were like
Besties.
buddies.
Yeah.
And that just like blows my mind sometimes when you think about it. Like they were best friends and they both wrote such like amazing and completely different things. And I love it.
Absolutely.
It's funny that you said this. I went to a Christian college. I'm a literature major, so like going
I was
from
a lit minor.
reading constantly to like I think I started to like burn out on reading in college because every single class I had to read 100 pages per night for each class, and literally was taking a Tolkien class, a Shakespeare class, a Jane Austen class, a C.S. class, all at the same time.
Wow.
So I was reading Tolkien and C.S. Lewis at the same time. We actually took a class, like Megan said, that was the Bible in literature. So it was like as we read different novels, finding the Jesus character. So Beauty and the Beast, finding the Jesus character.
Oh, that's cool. That's neat.
We also took a class like what's it called? Faces of Evil. So finding the evil in each book. Like we read Mouse and all that kind of stuff. But I remember our comparison with I just went brain dead for a second. Look, what were we talking about? Blind Witch in the Wardrobe and finding each character and who was like the Judas, who was it was really, I'd love to talk about that someday. It's been a long time, but really cool stuff. Beauty and the Beast. We also did Blade Runner.
Interesting.
The Matrix, because the Matrix is also one of those kind of things. It's really cool.
I love that. Yeah. like I said, I love it because, and that's where, we have to say how much teachers can be an impact on students, because if it wasn't for him, I would have never maybe not have discovered the series until later on. So I love that I have that memory to relate with those books because of him. So Mr. Bremer, don't know if he's still around or not, but he's great.
I actually hated English in school. Like I had one teacher that just, we didn't get along. She really pushed me. Like but I needed that push. And later on in life, I was like, I want to be an English major. I want to teach English. I want to do secondary or English education. And the more I thought about it, I was like, it was Mrs. Mayer. Like that's the reason I became like such a word nerd. So
there's one English teacher that I did not enjoy, and that's because she was a bad teacher in high school. But to her credit, she did decide to introduce learning styles to us. So like that was helpful. So thank you. But like the other English teacher that I had a really hard time with, it was the same situation. It was because, she wouldn't let me write a subpar paper. Like she wouldn't let me coast because she knew
you could do
I was
better.
capable of more.
Yeah.
And every week I'd get I'd get my paper, my first draft back, and it would just, it'd be a bad grade. And I'm like, I don't understand. I did what you told me to do. And she was like,
did you?
You did the bare minimum. Please work harder. And I was like, I don't want to. I answered all the questions, but like, you need the push. Like sometimes you just need the push.
Yeah.
That like lit that fire for, I mean, not that I wasn't already an avid reader, but it was a different kind of fire that made me realize like, oh, and now like I literally edit like documents all day. Like that's my thing, is reading it and making sure it makes sense. So here we are. Thanks.
Yeah.
Look what sentence diagramming did for me.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, thank you both for joining us. I'm so glad
thank
you
you.
were
This was
here.
fun.
I'm so glad we got to relive all of those book memories, unlock some of those deep set ones. It was so much fun. We are going to have both of you back, hopefully, for the rest of our girls' rooms.
Yes.
So next time, we will have you both back, and we will be discussing 90s heartthrobs. And we are an equal opportunity girls' room. We will be discussing all of the heartthrobs of the 90s, because the ladies and the gentlemen both need the recognition.
Yeah. There were some girly heartthrobs.
Right? Slimesters, thank you so much for being with us. Join us next time, and we will catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
We did it.
This episode was recorded at Splat Attack Studios in virtual home studios, though none in Florida.